As we continue our day of reflection of looking back on the devastating tornadoes from last March, I was in constant communication with Director of Schools, Dr. Donna Wright, that entire morning following the tornado. And when she arrived to the scene here at West Wilson, obviously in disbelief, so was I. In terms of messaging or what to say to our families, we didn't know exactly the best thing to do. We just knew that something meaningful had to be put out immediately. So I instinctively just grabbed my camera. I said, Dr. Wright, let the families hear from you. She has a very calming demeanor, and as she took a deep breath, she exhaled and she offered this. Your thoughts?
Well, it's one that until you actually see it, I was hearing the descriptions very early this morning that it would look like a war zone, that it was not easily described or descriptive as far as whatever you could use terms, but I'm even more stunned because when you sort of turn slowly and take all of it, and not only include the schools, but the neighborhood across the street, it does look like a war zone. And the devastation is just more than you can even picture or imagine. But in all of this, I'm so thankful that we weren't in school and there were no children sitting in this building when this happened. Just pure devastation, and knowing the power of the storm and the havoc that we can replace buildings, but no, we didn't lose anyone. I take comfort in that, and we can rebuild, so it'll be okay.
Now that was part of what she shared that day. Fast forward to a year later. Well, recently I had the opportunity to sit down with Dr. Wright and just simply ask her what she thinks about on a daily basis. She thinks back to 1 year ago today.
There is not a day that I don't continue to pray, but realize how blessed we are and were that we didn't lose anyone, because it had been earlier that day before, or even that school day, there would have been fatalities. There is no doubt there would have been fatalities. All you have to do is look at the buildings. And so, not to be melodramatic, and I don't mean to be, but I drive by there 2 or 3 times a month. I make my turn, I drive slowly, I look at it, and I know the community is troubled by looking at that rubble. I am too. But I'm also thankful because it could have been far worse. Mm-hmm. And as I said, every day, I think about it. We're blessed, but on the other, knowing that we have to move forward. It's caused so much stress and tension and division as far as that, because we displaced 1,700 students, 150 staff members. I'm very aware of that. And as I know people are weary of me saying, please be patient. I'm not patient, so it's hard for me to tell others to be patient. But this is part of what we have to go through, because the magnitude of the projects, the cost and the expense, and something I've not said or stressed, but I'm going to right now. Why haven't we demolished? Why haven't we started build? So much is dependent on insurance. Mm-hmm. And anything that we take upon ourselves to preempt that process, we're going to put a burden on the taxpayer. Because you cannot start any project without the funds, without the resources. And we couldn't possibly obligate our taxpayers to something that we have insurance, but we have to go through the process. And so this has been a year, and it's probably been a heavy burden, more so than a lot of people might realize, because the comments that nothing's happening there, so we must not be concerned. I can assure you there's been more than just concern. Topped, which I guess sort of adds to the pandemic. So we've not had we've also had the pandemic, which
that leads to a question I have. A year or two ago, I said 2 years ago, you had the opportunity to retire then if you so chose to, but
Yeah.
you said, you know what, I want to keep doing this. I feel good. Do you ever have those conversations at home with your husband or maybe even your kids, that think to yourself,
They remind me.
that
You
the
could have
last
retired.
year of your career was filled with a natural disaster and a worldwide pandemic, and is that the stress level of that? Has it affected your health? I mean, have you been able to? People ask you that a lot, and they say, well, how's Dr. Wright doing? How is Dr. Wright doing through all of this?
Anyone and everyone that knows me, I am one that I make no secret. I start my day with prayer. I end my day with prayer. And there's prayer throughout the day, because there's many things that, again, whether it's a hiccup or something, you either take it as something that can, turn your world upside down, or take it as an opportunity. And I've been in this profession for nearly 40 years. There's been some hard times, but nothing that even reaches the magnitude of what we have all dealt with in some degree. Everything professionally to, when I look at it, we had over 100 of our staff members that either had a damage or they lost a home. Some of them had a personal experience with this tornado. So you have to engage it by that. When I'm asked about, did you rethink about why you allowed them to extend your contract a year? And this is what I say, and I've said it at the very beginning. I'm thankful that it was me. I can't imagine someone new to the system, a new superintendent, coming in and facing, because they would have come in on July the 1st and starting to really get to know the district, understand the dynamics, how a district this size, we're a large district, operates, the largest employer in town, and trying to get their arms, and then be hit with this.
Then the pandemic, yeah.
It might seem a little perverse, but I think there's a purpose, and maybe for whatever reason, that it was meant that I stayed another year. And, has it been stressful? Of course. But much of anything that you put, everything you have into something, it will be stressful. But it's going to be okay. It might not seem so right now, but when I look at how we've been able to work within very constricted means, whether it's the instruction that we're providing for students, how we've had to double up in so many areas, and then look at just the strength of our staff and our administrators, it's okay. And I'm certainly okay. I work with good people. We support each other, and it's going to be one of those things 2 years from now we'll look back and think, you know what, we did it, and it's okay.